got some really great tips for you tonight. Some good things to really help you in your healing journey. We're going to talk about why we keep repeating the same patterns. We're going to talk about what steps we can take to stop repeating them. And we're going to talk about how do we get out of our own way? Because normally, it's us that we need to get out of our own way from. So let me just get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie McPhail. I help brilliant women date up. I spent a long time dating down, and now I get to teach women to elevate themselves in order that if they would like to date again, they will not be dating the same types of people they dated before, but they will up-level their dating when and if they desire to do that. And of course, you might not even want to. But by the time you get to this new place in your life, you might say, forget it. I am in too good of a place that I just would like to stay with me. And that's a good place to be as well. But why not make 2020 the year that if you decide to date up or decide to date, you'll be dating up. So to heal all of the past traumas, to the past issues that you've had, stop these same cycles over and over again so that 2020 is the best year yet. So we're going to start off with the first question, which is why do we keep repeating the same patterns in our relationships? So there's a few different reasons. Hi, everyone that's coming on. Make sure you say hello. All right. So the first reason why, and this to me is so amazing because I do work with so many beautiful, brilliant women and strong, independent women, is that number one reason, in my opinion, that women date down is that we feel unworthy. Now, let me know if that sounds like that resonates for you at all. Some people are like, well, that's not what it is. It's not what it is. Well, hear me through. But I'm going to guess that a lot of people, once I start explaining what that means, you're gonna agree with this. A lot of the times it's subconscious. We might think that we are choosing partners that are good for us, but we actually don't feel worthy of healthy partners. So, we've had experiences in our lives. Maybe we were bullied in school. Maybe our parents were arguing a lot, and we think that love that's healthy is not for people like us. I always thought that, or I did think for a very long time, that healthy, calm, peaceful love was for someone else. And that was why I wrote my book, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, because I really felt that love was uncomfortable and it was like anxiety provoking and just not a comfortable place to be. And that was always a lot of work. So when I would meet people to date, I thought that this is how it was. So, and Sharon says that she felt unworthy. That's how I thought it was. I thought that love was just uncomfortable, so that I was not worthy. I was not able to achieve that healthy love. It was not going to be for someone like me. All of those insecurities, all of those things that I'd ever experienced in my life set me up to feel that way. So that was one of the biggest things. The next one, we get very used to fixing. I tell the story that when I was in my healing, I was going on dates and trying to figure out like, hey, I really don't know if I want to date anybody anymore, or be serious with anyone anymore, I guess I should say. But I'm going to date, and I'm going to see like what it is, the qualities that I'm actually looking for in a person. And so what I did is that I would go on dates, like coffee dates and pretty just easy dates. And there was this one guy who I went on a date with who was super sweet. He was from Alabama. He was very family oriented. And the very first date, he tells me this story about how when he was younger, his mother died, his father died, his brother died. I think his sister died too. I think he had some kind of drug issue. I mean, you name it, he experienced it in some way, shape, or form. And I remember my heart, I was feeling like it was bleeding for him. And the empath in me, the psychology background helper, all I wanted to do was help him. I was like, oh my God, I want to show him that love can be beautiful, that love can be healthy and happy and exciting and worthy and all of those things. And I remember thinking that as we're on this date, and he was just so sweet, and he was like 6'5", but reminded me of a scared little kid. And there was something so endearing and sweet about him. And I said to myself, I can never go on another date with him ever again. Because that little piece of me that wanted to fix him was a terrible reason to try to date him. Let me know if that resonates for anybody else. We see the potential in someone, and we say, hey, that's something I can work with. I can fix it. I can show him that love can be beautiful. I'm going to give him all this beautiful loving and show him how wonderful love can be. And then he's going to change and he's going to blossom and he's going to be this great, wonderful guy. But I had learned from my previous relationships that you had to accept people for who they were and what they were. So I knew that that was not a good sign. I knew that that moment that I felt that need to fix and help, reach out and to scoop up and save the day, to be the motherly and hey, it's going to be okay. I'm going to show you what love is. I'm going to love you so much that everything is going to be okay. I knew that that was bad news, and that was not a relationship that I wanted to be in, because I had promised myself that I would never be in the type of relationship again where I was the one coming in, scooping him up and trying to save someone. And if that's what you're doing, you're going to keep repeating the same patterns over and over again. If you have that feeling of, I want to fix, help, and save that person, remember, like I said last week, they're not puppies. The people that you're looking to date, they're not a puppy to save. You're looking for someone who has the same values, morals, beliefs as you do, that's on the same level, that you're there to navigate and help elevate each other. Not one person constantly trying to bring the other person up, because it's never going to work out. So if we're looking to fix someone and if we're feeling like we're unworthy, those are two of the reasons. And then the last one is we are afraid of the pain. So we might notice that the relationship isn't great for us. We might not have seen it right away. We have a bunch of dates and we start having real feelings for the person. And I used to say, I'm as loyal as a puppy. You can do whatever to me and I'll still be around. And so what would happen is that I would get feelings and then I would be afraid of ending the relationship, even though I knew that it was not a healthy relationship or that it was not the right relationship for me. So I would do whatever I could to avoid that pain. The problem is that makes the pain last that much longer. Hi, Shannon. It makes the pain last that much longer. So in avoiding the pain, in putting off your feelings, you're just elongating the pain. You're making the pain for that much longer. So a lot of the clients that I work with, they are so afraid of that pain. And so I say to clients all the time, feel the pain and act anyway. And that is such an important piece to keep in mind. There is nothing we can say or do to not have you feel that pain, to not have you feel like I'm breaking their heart. I'm letting them down. I'm letting my family down. I am not going to be in a relationship. I'm going to be alone. I'm going to let my children down. All of those things, all that pain and discomfort that we're feeling it and we're going to feel it. However, if we don't allow ourselves to feel all that and say to ourselves, hey, I know that this is pain, but it's a for now pain. I'll get over it. Because at some point, I'm not going to feel this pain anymore because I'm not going to be in this situation anymore. And then later on, you've got to think of the long term where that pain won't be there anymore. And that's where it's really, really hard for people to deal with. That's why people go back to smoking cigarettes. That's why people go back to using drugs. That's why people go back to unhealthy relationships for them. It's uncomfortable. They feel the discomfort. They go back to their drug of choice, whatever it is, because they want that fix. They want to not feel the pain anymore. So they make up. They make up. They have great makeup sex. They make up. They talk, maybe they talk about it, maybe they don't, but they try to figure it out because, that was so uncomfortable when I felt that pain. Instead of reminding themselves that the pain is for now instead of forever. Because if you feel it now, then later on you can create the life that you want. Again, we want to make 2020 your best year yet. So if you start now and you have that pain and discomfort, know that discomfort is the discomfort of change. Instead, what a lot of people do is they stay in the discomfort of what they know, which means the same, which means no growth, which means in 10 years from now, it's going to be worse than what it is right now. And Sharon said she's working on her avoidance issue. And that's a really, really tough one to work through. And I have 3 clients right now that's what we're working through, is that pain avoidance. It's like, I always say, it's like putting on a Band-Aid and then starting to rip it off, but it hurts. So we put it back on, and then we start ripping it off again, and then we put it back on, and we keep doing it over and over again. Then we've got a big sore spot, and we're like, what is it? Why do I have this big sore spot? Because you keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's like my dad used to say, like, it hurts when I do this. Well, stop doing that. It's like, but we don't realize that's exactly what we're doing. So we have all this victimization, and we complain, and we ask for help from people, and there's drama that's around because of the fact that we're afraid of the pain. We're afraid of feeling the pain. So if you're looking at why we're repeating the same patterns, all of those 3 things are why we repeat the same patterns. And of course there's more, but those are 3 of the biggest ones. Now, what's important for people to remember is, and if you're coming on, make sure you say hello, because I don't get to see everybody. Come on. What steps can we do to start avoiding these, or to stop repeating them? So the biggest thing that I can tell you, and this is the most important, hands down, is to decide that no matter what, you're going to stick to your plan of creating the change. You can hire the best coaches in the entire world. You can hire gurus. You can hire whoever you want, the best therapists, the best people. But if they tell you to do something and you don't actually do it, it doesn't matter. If you talk about doing things, but you don't actually do it, it's not going to change. It's back to the pain. So you have to commit to yourself. The hands down most important thing you can do is to decide that I'm going to do whatever it takes to change this. And sometimes I spoke to 2 people yesterday that reached out to me asking me questions about, did my significant other, were they wrong when I said this? Was this the wrong thing to do? Whatever. And I've spoken to them more than a few times. And I said, are you making plans to leave? And they said no. And I said, okay, well then no matter what I say to you, whether or not your significant other is right or wrong or whatever, it doesn't matter. You're not ready to leave yet. Your pain is not strong enough that it's willing to motivate you to make a change. Sometimes that pain, we get comfortable in it. We get, it's like, oh, okay, it's pain. Yeah, we sleep. We're comfortable with it. We know it. That's the pain we know. But when it gets to be to that point where the pain is so bad, where all we can think about is the loss of our future selves if we continue staying that way, then I will tell you right now that you will commit to that change. When you start getting a health issue, if you start getting, loss of friends and family, maybe you've already had those things. When you start really feeling that pain for yourself, because it's going to be different for everybody. Some people's level of pain, I had become so good at dealing with stress that my ability to deal with bullshit was, can't even see it. It was that high. That was how good I was at dealing with pain. So it took me, and some of you, this is the same thing. It takes you a lot to get to that pain place where you're willing to make a change, because you're good at avoiding it. You're good at dealing with it. I had amazing coping skills. I had all these great ways of dealing with stress to avoid the fact that I was in a very stressful, very toxic, unhealthy situation. I had lots of ways to blow off steam. For some people that, maybe are more not as used to it, maybe their levels are a little bit lower. And they feel that pain and they're like, oh, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to decide to make changes. And they go hire the coach and the therapist and the, whatever people they need on their team. They go and hire all the people that they need. But a lot of us have gotten so used to that pain. A lot of you would be my guess. You guys were right up here too, where I used to be. You deal with it for so long. Maybe you had certain experiences as a child. Maybe you had certain experiences with your first relationships, with your first marriages, with men that you met, with women that you met. I mean, all of those things will really cultivate your ability to deal with crap and, what I said before, feel like you are not worthy of something better. So when you commit to yourself that no matter what happens, I am going to make this change, then that is when change will happen. So that means those things that the universe is giving you, you start accepting them. So when you see the possibility for change, you jump on those things and you commit to them right away. And you figure it out. When I was going through my healing, I had the opportunity. I decided I got a therapist, I got a coach, and I had the opportunity to travel to Pennsylvania to go meet a shaman. And when I was coming back from seeing him, I was like, I think I'm going to go drive cross country. And I'm going to ask a friend, but if a friend doesn't want to go with me, I'm just going to go by myself. And so I really took those opportunities that came to me, and no matter what, I was going to drive cross country, whether I was by myself or with someone else. It didn't matter to me. And when you start really living that way, and I see Cindy says they make the change when they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that is, I hear that phrase all the time, and it's so true. When you commit to yourself and you say, no matter what. So there are certain things that it's no matter what. Okay, well, this is going to happen. So it is. And you make it happen. People don't just manifest because they just said they're going to do it. It's because they commit to figuring out how they're going to do it. And they try whatever angles, whatever right support that they need to be able to complete the goal that they decided. Because that's what it is. It's making a commitment to yourself to follow through on a goal. And if your goal is to be happy and live a happy life, or to have a healthy partner, then you will do whatever it takes to make that happen. And part of doing that is obviously to take care of yourself. So the commitment to you and do whatever it takes is the number one, hands down way to make sure that you stop repeating the same cycle. All right. And number two, the second part of that is making sure that you get a team. And that for me was, so important. So like I said before, I got a therapist. Now, not every therapist is the right therapist for you. And I know that, when it comes to mental health in this country, we are awful at it. I say to my students all the time, if you're walking down the street and you got hit by a bus, we'd send you to the emergency room. We have amazing centers for that. We would make sure that we'd put you back together. You'd be bionic woman and you'd have all the powers in the world, But if we have a mental health issue, if there's anything that we need help with mentally, it's so hard to get the right person, right? It's so hard to get the right therapist. If you're dealing with addiction and all this other stuff, it's hard to find the right person. Even the person that's saying I need help, sometimes it's really hard. But let me tell you, when you're committed that no matter what, you're going to make a change, then you commit to yourself and you say, hey, I need a therapist. I need to get down into some of the deep, dark recesses of my mind that I have completely put off to the side and I have not looked at. Some of you might have already been to therapy. Some of you might have never been. Some of you, might be in the middle. Maybe you don't go enough or you don't have the right type of therapist. Finding the right therapist at some point in your healing is really, really important. Along with that, finding a coach. I work with people all the time. This is what I specialize in, helping women date up. This is what I do because I experienced it. I know what it's like. But hiring a coach because you need to find out if what you're doing is right. Sharon says teams are wonderful. You need your team. Other people on your team that I suggest is a strong set of independent, strong women. I don't know about you, but I did not have a very good core group of women. I used to have them, and then I lost them. I almost take that back. I always had one close female friend. And my one close female friend, and it was always one person. It wasn't always the same person. I have my bestie, Brooke, that we've been best friends since 7th grade. But, she lives in Texas. I live in New York. So, locally, I always had that one close, good friend. And then I have some other women that I knew. Part of my healing was to create a group of women and find those women that I had been friends with in the past and lost contact with them. But they have to be healthy women. They can't be people that are in drama, that are going to suck you into something else that's unhealthy. Those are people you want to stay completely away from, especially while you are healing. I made sure that when I hung out with other couples, I made sure that I hung out with healthy couples. They were part of my team. So also too, I had, as part of my team, I had some of my really good friends, my friend Jody and James. They've been together since they were 16 years old. And, at that point they'd been together 17 years or something like that. And so whenever I would even go on one date with someone, I would come back and I'd be like, this was weird. Do you think that was weird? And, we'd go back and forth talking about the date with a healthy couple that was not into drama at all. They were part of my team. And then, of course, having the job that I like. So, you've got to figure out what it is that's part of your team. But those were some of the things that were part of my healing process, was making sure that I had the right team. And of course, having the right team to help me with my exercise, to help me with my nutrition. Hi, Terry. All of those people had to be a part of my team. So who is on your team to help you heal and make sure that you are making the right decisions? So that's the second part of the steps. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, how do we get out of our own way? How do we get out of our own way? Well, it's actually way easier than we think. We need to remember that when it comes to making decisions with relationships, we're dumb. You're not dumb. I'm not saying that, please. I'm joking. But we are not equipped. We have not gotten the right intuition when it comes to knowing healthy relationships. Thank you, Terry. Terry's one of my current clients. She's going with me to Costa Rica, which we're so excited about. But yeah, make sure that you are getting the right people to be working with. So what I said before was to make sure that you're getting the right team. So how do we get out of our own way? Well, in that team that we have, we trust what they say. If you have people on your team and you second guess, you don't believe what they say, you're not going to follow what they say, I'm going to tell you right now, you are not going to succeed. If you try to do it your own way, this is what's very frustrating when you're a coach, is that you're like, I know exactly what to do. I have my best friend Brooke is also a coach, and she just called me up, last night really late. She was all upset because she had given someone very specific instructions on what to do, and then this client turned around and went to someone else, and that person's now really sick. And it's frustrating because it's health. It's specifically related to autoimmune issues. So that's life or death. So this person was not listening to her. She's cured thousands of people from autoimmune issues, but she went to this other person who's never cured anyone from autoimmune and is now listening to her. So I only share that because who is there to help you? Your therapist, your coach, your team. So if they're telling you something and they're there, you trust them, then you should probably listen to them, because what you're thinking has not worked out. What I always say is, how has that worked out for you? Has that worked out well? Have you gotten to the place you want to be in your life with that thinking, with listening to the thinking that you have been listening to? Probably not. Or else you wouldn't be here watching this video right now, right? So you want to make sure that you trust the people that are on your team. And then trust in yourself, trust in your inability to make these good decisions. So you're going to trust your team, and you're going to trust or know that for yourself, you are not able to make good decisions when it comes to relationships. So you are going to make sure that you reach out to the people on your team when you meet anyone and you say, hey, is this normal? Is this okay? And you're also going to work on the tools so that you actually now can start trusting yourself. Because the idea is not to have the same type of coach forever. Like, I'm not saying to not keep going with education, because, I hire coaches for different things. Like right now I have a business coach. I had like a marketing brand coach. I have had different coaches depending on what it is that I'm leveling up to. So, once you can level up and you can get past these unhealthy relationships, guess what? You get to stop worrying about that, and then you get to think about something else. What are other areas of my life I can work on? So you can move away from that, and you don't have to be stuck and thinking about working on this all the time. So the idea is, as part of your team, you want to get the right tools so that you can actually start trusting yourself and start making better decisions for yourself. And as you learn how to live in integrity with the goals that you want for your life, you start to trust yourself more. You start to know that you're making better decisions. You start to realize, like even when I finally met my husband, David, I had already gone to my team over and over again and asked them questions over and over again. And there were things that I totally was right. And I was realizing, I learned through my healing that the reason why things were so messed up for me is because I really kind of knew and I completely ignored it. I thought I was doing what I thought society was telling me to do. That's pretty much what it was. What my family wanted to do, what I thought society wanted me to do, what was my expectation as a woman, as a female of a certain age, like all of those things. Those were all the thoughts that were going through my head. And once I started to really reach out to my team, and they were like, no, you were right. Oh, no, this part, you got to tweak this. Well, here you got to work on a boundary. Okay, well, here, it's self-esteem here. Okay, well, and I had all these people to help me look at things from a different perspective to kind of, because it's hard to see from inside, right? So when I had other people to look at me from the outside and be part of Team Stephanie, like Terry said, be part of my team, then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay. So that's where I should have listened to my gut, and that's where I should have changed a little this, and this is where something I need to work on, and I was able to figure all that stuff out. But it was me that had to make the decision and then choose the right people to be on my team. So are there any questions? I would love for there to be any questions, because this is really the time. We've got one more week in our Brilliant Women Dating Up series for this series. And, my hope for you, we are ending this year. So 2019 is almost over. So we're almost in the 20s, which to me is so cool. I can't wait for tons of 20s themed parties, but that's I digress. But, why not do all the work now so that you can heal and make 2020 your best year yet? 2020 can be the year that you finally date up. 2020 can be the year that you get all of the tools to heal, to do all the things that you need to do so that you can create your best life. And again, you might decide after you do all of your healing and your deep inner work and all that kind of stuff, you might be like, hey, it is so cool to just be alone and have the freedom to do whatever I want that I don't even want to be in a relationship. I mean, that's how I felt. And I stayed that way for a while. And it's like, I felt like I was floating. I was like, wow, I don't really have anybody to weigh me down. This is awesome. It was so cool. And then when I finally met David, I was in such this cool, amazing, rush of feeling good that I wasn't letting anyone bring me down. And that's where I want you to be. I want you to be so elevated and feeling so good and in such a good place in your life that if people, you almost don't even see them. When people try to come to bring you down, you're like, pfft. It's like a mosquito, oh, get off me. Oh, you're ruining my vibe. Not cool. I can't deal with your negative energy. And that way, when somebody comes around that has that positive energy that helps to elevate you and fuel that fire, that exciting, that innovation, all those great things that, for you, then you're able to say, hey, that felt good. That was good. And then, I can do that back for you. And then you figure all that stuff out, and then you can decide, well, hey, if I'm going to date someone, it's going to be someone like this that's going to actually fuel my fire and help me to feel good, because I already feel amazing, but I'm not going to let anyone who's going to try to make me not feel amazing, because I do not have time for that at all. So that's what I want for you for 2020. I want you to have all those feelings so that when you do decide, if you decide to date, you'll be dating up. You won't be dating the same types of whatevers that you were dating before. I'll let you fill in the blank on that one. All right, so Cindy said, how do you find the people on your team? All right, so this is where looking at your passions comes along. So, when I found a therapist, I basically tested them out. I went to a bunch of different therapists that were kind of crappy for me. I mean, I'll be honest. I went there a few times and I was like, meh, I don't really feel like I'm getting anything out of these people at all. And then I finally found someone who was great. I mean, she let me just vent. She let me talk. She was very good at just the little things that she would say to just kind of help me think. And, she was just really, I felt really listened to and validated when I went there. So that was, for me, that was really helpful. Other people that I found on my team, as I was figuring out my passions, as I was figuring out what I love to do, those people kind of came to me. So, for example, I knew that when I ended my relationship, I wanted to help other women not feel that way ever again. I mean, I remember crying on the phone with joy that I had gotten a divorce. And I remember saying to my friend Jody, the one in the healthy relationship, and I said, I can't wait to help other women never feel this way again, in tears. And she was like, okay, she's like, let's get through totally divorced first, and then let's worry about helping other people. I'm like, I know, I'm not there yet, but I know that that's what I have to do. I knew it immediately. And so I had the opportunity to go to a business event, And I was like, I'm just going to go. I had wanted to go, and I was like, I'm just going to go. And I went, and I had a great time, and then I had an opportunity to go and do other things. So then I was able to, in that business, that's where I hired the coach. So the coach was not anything related to codependency. Back then, 7 years ago, from what I am aware of, and maybe I'm wrong and I just didn't know they existed, but like coaches that helped with toxic relationships and heal from those toxic relationships, they were not existent then. So for me, the accountability of the business coach worked between that and the regular therapist. So the cool thing about hiring someone who actually knows about what you're dealing with is that I know what you're dealing with. So that the level of healing goes much quicker. But, and I'm going to just call you out, you have to be honest with your coach. You have to be honest with your therapist. If you are hiding anything from your coach or from your therapist, you're hiding it from yourself, because we can't help you if we don't have all the facts. And I notice that happens a lot with my coaching clients, and I'm sure part of it is because of trust, lack of, and they come to me and they don't give me the full information. So I'm not fully aware of what's going on, and I can tell that they're hiding something, but I can't tell exactly what it is. And then when it finally comes to light, it's like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. But then I'm able to help you better once I know what all of those pieces are, and we can actually start to really figure those out. So those were two of the things. And then I weeded out people that were trying to drain me. And I know, Cindy, you're a giver. I have always been a giver, but I learned how to say no. If I was feeling tired, I used to say yes. Everything was yes. Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll be part of this. Yeah, I'll do that. And so I finally started to say no, or let me think about it, or let me get back to you. And then I would decide if I was able to hang out with them, or like, they're kind of draining. And then I just stopped hanging out with them. There was one or two people that I used to have at parties, and I would never know if they were going to get so drunk they were going to yell and scream and fight in my driveway. Like, those were people I allowed in my life. And then once I started healing, I was like, nope, those people are never allowed to my parties ever again. And so there were two different couples, three. There were three different couples that, not to be nice, not for any reason, because I wasn't doing anything out of pity anymore. I was doing it because I wanted to hang out with people during my free time that felt good. And I wanted to feel good when I was around them. So if there was going to be any drama brought to me, I wasn't having it. I wasn't allowing that into my life. So I really, really whittled down the people that I spent time with. And then I was interested in doing singing bowl meditations. So I went to singing bowl meditations. I was interested in Reiki. So I became Reiki 2-level certified. And I did those things completely on my own. But in doing so, I found people that could be a good part of my team, because they were all healthy. They were people that were also looking to improve their lives. And then I just kept adding. I mean, I swear, on Wednesday, I went to a woman's entrepreneur dinner, and I had been interviewed by a podcaster on Monday. This beautiful woman, Jennifer, who had a double mastectomy. She had found her own breast cancer, and she actually does, I forget the name of her podcast, but it's about empowering women. And so she had heard me on another podcast. She invited me onto hers. And then she's like, you've got to be from Long Island. Where are you from? And so we started talking, and we had all these like similar things in common. And so on Wednesday, she came and met me at the women's entrepreneur dinner. And the whole time we were just like, like old friends. Well, her and I are both looking to empower and strengthen women, and to be like, oh, wow, two women that are here that live about 45 minutes away from each other. We don't live that far away. We were so excited to meet each other and be like, all right, we're part of each other's team now. Like, you are part of my team. I want other strong, empowered women, that are looking to change the world. That's who I want to be as part of my team. I'm looking for people that are elevating. If you are trying to drain me, no interest. So, long story short, go in the direction of doing things that you're passionate about. If you're not sure what that is, I call that, as part of my healing program, the Passion Quest. Go and do the things that you enjoy doing for yourself. Don't look to go with anyone else. Don't look for anyone else to even support you in those things. And do things that are different from what you would normally do. And just try them out. And after a while, you're going to start adding the people to your team that are there to help elevate you, because you're not settling and you're only looking for people that are there to do that. And you're going to start to notice a real change. All right. So Cindy says, I get to that really great feeling or good place a lot. Meeting someone that seems worth dating. starts out great and moves into the I'll show you how good love can be thing. Yeah, and so that's what I talked about earlier today. As soon as you start feeling, I'm going to show them how great love is, probably a good idea to tell them you never want to date them again. If you have to prove yourself to someone, then that's not good. I mean, be like my husband David, when we started dating, I had said to him, I'm not sure that I want to be in a serious relationship. I really just feel so happy being single. And he said, well, listen, I'm not going to stand around forever, but no, I'm not going to force you to do anything that you don't want. And if, you want to date other people, I'm okay with that. Again, I'm not going to force you, but know that I want to be in a relationship with you. And he didn't force it. I mean, he allowed it to be. The biggest thing is just to allow the other person to be. You're not forcing, you're not showing. I mean, if you want to say continuing to date them and be the normal you, I mean, I guess if you want to call that showing, but it's not something that's not you. You're not trying to become something more than yourself. And, it's like I just had like a vision of those, like the Animal Planet and those like lizards that like puff themselves up to make themselves look bigger and more attractive for their mates. Like, we don't need to do that. We don't need to like inflate ourselves and make ourselves look like this totally different person. We need to be more of ourselves and accept the other person for being themselves. So, as soon as we start seeing that we're trying to be someone that we're not, or we're trying to force something that isn't there, or trying to prove something to someone, that's when we need to take a step in the other direction. And when part of your healing is, and when you have the right support, is that when you're honest and you say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is when I would turn around and say, this is a bad connection. This is not someone that you're meant to be with. All right, Tracy. I've been dating and I'm struggling to find a partner that is on my level, educationally, financially secure, independent. How important are deal breakers? Well, deal breakers are really important. I don't know if you've watched the other videos that I have done, but that is really, really important. A lot of people say that they have too high of standards. And I'm going to tell you, ladies, right now, that is complete BS. Ladies, it's not that you have too high of standards. It's that most of you have too low of standards. Last Friday, I was on a podcast. And at the end of the podcast, the woman who was interviewing me, she's like, I need to hire you. She was like, I've been single for all of these years and whatever. She's like, everyone tells me that my levels are too high. Like I'm trying, I want too much. And I was like, okay, well then tell me what you want. So she tells me and I'm like, no, those are actually pretty normal things to want. Don't let other people that are not successful tell you what you shouldn't have. Don't let them tell you that your expectations are too high. I mean, think about it. If someone is not happy in their relationship, if they are unhealthy, if they are, just with the wrong type of partner, they probably think that that's how relationships are. But they probably chose the wrong partner themselves. So they should probably not be giving anyone any type of advice on whether or not your standards are too high. Keep those standards high, but I'm going to add this little piece of it to it as well. Make sure that your standards are high, but they are also high for yourself. Okay, so let me say that in another way. If you want someone who's got a high level of education, who can take care of themselves, who's financially secure and all of those things, then you should be those things as well. And I'm sure you are. But make sure that you keep doing those things. If you want to date someone who's interesting and likes to do things, then you should be interesting and like to do things. So, I mean, if your only thing that you enjoy doing is dating and looking for someone to be in a relationship with, that's not that interesting. That should not be your number one go-to every weekend. Oh, I'm going to go on 3 dates this weekend, right? That's not that exciting. So what is it that you like to do? What are you passionate about? What is it that when you talk about it, you get you get excited, you feel fiery, that you get so interested in talking about it? That's what's going to attract the right partner. It's going to repel the person that does not belong in your life, because those people are not going to like you. I've been told that, I'm opinionated or, I'm strong-willed and strong-minded and all those things. Well, people that don't like that about me, then you're not going to like me, because that's who I am. I have some strong ideas of things. I am a strong, independent woman. If you don't like strong, independent women, keep walking, because you're not going to get someone different than that when you're with me. So, be those things for yourself. Embrace those things in yourself. Know who you are so that when you are attracting those other people, that you're looking for those things that you are too. So, and it could be things like, and even like with David's very musical and I'm not, but I love music. So there are things that you can say, you've got to figure out on your list, what are the deal breakers? So you want to be interesting. You want to be the educated one. You want to have all these things. If that's the type of partner that you want, then you will come together very nicely. And that will be a good, healthy relationship. So you want to keep dating. That's why dating apps. I know people get upset with talking about dating apps. You go for a coffee with someone. I always say to people, don't spend weeks on the phone with someone getting to know someone. Look at them, look at their profile. They seem interesting. Okay, let's go for coffee. Within 5 minutes, you can tell if you like them or not. Coffee's done. I got to go wash my hair. Done. And then when they ask you, to go on another date, I'm sorry, you're just not really what I'm looking for. Good luck. But bam, they don't like it. Too bad. Next. And that's where feel the fear and discomfort, but do it anyway. That was kind of my practice too, I'll be honest with you. As soon as someone would say, I was like, I'm not going to be untruthful to anyone. So when they would say to me like, oh, I had a really great time, can we go on another date? I said, well, you seem like a really great guy, but you're not exactly what I'm looking for. And then that was it. There were 2 or 3 guys that did not like that answer, I'm not going to lie. But the other ones were actually pretty appreciative that I was so honest. I wasn't ghosting anyone because that had happened to me and I would never do that. Cindy said, it's hard because people are complex. Some are at your level on a lot of things, but not everything. And you wonder if you being too picky and need to compromise on some things. Yes. No. You don't want to compromise on something. Okay, but you've got to have your list. So this is why, I always recommend to clients, you have to date, especially those of you who've been married for 26 years. You have to date. I had been in long-term relationships. I didn't know how to date. I went from one long-term relationship right away to another long-term relationship. Both were unhealthy. And then I was free and I was like, I don't know how to date. I know how to be in a relationship. Like that's what I knew. So you want to date and know what you're looking for. As you work on yourself, you get yourself to a certain place, and then you start dating for educational purposes. It's your educational purposes. So those educational purposes, those dates are your coffee dates where you go and you say, you look at your other relationships, because I know most of you could do this. Look at your past relationships and do a little checklist of the things that you liked about each one of those people. And I bet you a lot of you could say, if I could just take these things from these 4 different guys, I'd have the perfect man. Well, take those things from those guys, make that as part of your have-to list, and then look for people as you're dating that have those qualities. And then add to that. So there are certain things that, you're going to start dating and you're going to be like, oh, well, you know what? I don't really think I need that. Or I thought I wanted that, but that's not really what I want because now that I've been on a few dates with this guy, this is not really what I want. Good education, move on to the next person, So you're not being too picky. I mean, this is not pizza. This is someone who's going to be your life partner. This is someone who you're going to laugh with, on a Friday night and you're being silly. This is someone that you're going to cry with when something terrible happens. This is someone who's going to support you through those moments that you never want to have to deal with. I mean, this is a really important person. We better interview way better that person for the position of being your significant other. Because ladies, we're not good at that interview process. We're like, oh, you're cute. All right, you're good in bed? All right, yeah, this is a good spot for you. I'm sure you don't do that. But, what we're looking for is like, we don't have high enough standards. They check off a few things. We'll compromise the rest. Okay, we'll figure it out. And then we've got this person that's completely not right for us. So, it's important to know, I always say it's the have-tos, the not sures or okays, and then the definitely nots. So you want to kind of put it in those 3 different categories. And for me, once I really got clarity is so important. Once I got clear on those 3 things, then I was able to find and attract my healthy partner. The right partner for me. Is he perfect? No. I mean, we both do things to annoy each other sometimes. I mean, this morning he shaved his beard and he left his little beard things in the sink. Come on, we're still human, right? And so it's not like he does everything perfectly all the time, but he is the right partner for me. He can call me out on my crap, he can inspire me, and he is there for me when I need him, and he can make me laugh like nobody else can. were some of the biggest important things for me. And, the things like the whiskers in the sink, you can make that into a big, huge battle. But the reality, and this is something that him and I have talked about before, I think about those things. And earlier where I might have gotten frustrated, I say to myself, someday one of us will not be around to notice or appreciate that those whiskers are there, either because he's not there to do it or I'm not there to see it. And when I think about those things, I think how lucky I am that there are whiskers in my sink. So, you think about the things that bother you and you think about the things that you want. And so those kinds of little things, who cares? Are those things really important? What are the big things that you are not willing to compromise on? What are the things that are like, okay, we can figure this out? And then what are the things that are definitely can't deal with? I hope that explained to you.